if you got your shitting pants on.
Because you are about to shit your pants.
Listening to The Big Picture on All Western New York News. I am Michael Sargent. My apologies. I've missed a couple of weeks. I'm an extremely busy man. Most of you already know that. Okay. We're going to get into this a little bit today. And this is almost kind of like a welcome back show for me because, I have been so busy with outside work. First thing, I put a call out on Facebook. Very well received. A lot of responses. I have a national ad campaign that I've been asked to do the photography work for. And I've accepted, and we're moving on with it. So, I was looking for models. And like I said, the response was pretty incredible. But here's where things get a little squirrely. I need some information from people. And I put this small form, just contact information, so I could set up interviews with people. And 2 people were serious enough about the entire project that they actually submitted their information so I could contact them, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But there was, a huge response. Unfortunately, like I said, only 2 people, actually, followed through and put the information forward. And I just look at it and say, ain't that a bitch?
Bitch.
Oh, well, what are you going to do? It's going to happen. And, nothing you can really do about that. So, I'm not going to worry about that. I've got, better things to do with myself. I will be contacting the 2 that did respond to me, and then possibly a couple more if I think that they can, if they've got the chops to do this kind of work. Most people that work with me on projects like this know that I am extremely demanding. I know the look I'm going for, and that's what a lot of people in the area don't really realize about what I do. It's not my first rodeo. I've done several ad campaigns like this in the past. And it's primarily the reason why I've stayed in photography as long as what I have. But back to me, the people that work with me know how I operate, and they know what I do as a photographer, and they're used to, what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do. And it's funny because, for me to drop, right to the ground in a mud puddle, which wouldn't be unheard of, to get the right shot I'm looking for. That's happened several times, especially when I'm going for, reflective photo, and I tripod up, with my arms and get right down to the ground and wait for the water to settle, and then I should take my shot. But it's just me, and that's not really what's important. What is important, however, is, moving forward here on the big picture. I've got to figure some things out with this program, because I've been listening to some of the other shows, and, just a variety of podcasts as of late. And, I kind of always taken that mix of photography and politics, and I just don't think I want to, screw around with that anymore. And part of it is just because there are so many people that are brainwashed, or they don't see what I like to call the big picture, that it always turns into an argument. And I really don't have time for that, in my life.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
This August, I am going to be one burnout zombie motherfucker. The gigs are booking up. I have a project that has to be completed by the 25th. It's a huge deal. But, at the end of the day, when we get this all done, it will be like that dilly moment for me.
Dilly.
And part of it is just because when you're able to do this stuff and accomplish it, and, this is the thing. Doing photos for people and things like that, and doing things on a commercial level, they are it's a whole different world. And, what I end up doing is I create, very unique looks for very unique clients. You'll have to excuse me, I'm fucking tired. Tired and burnt out. It's been a long day for me. So, I put up a blog post earlier this week, and there's some things I'm going to clear up, regarding me and who I am and what I do, in the world of photography. And I want people to understand this. Growing up the way that I did, nothing was ever easy. And a lot of times you would just give up because you knew there was nothing that you could do. Now, to start this whole thing off with photography, I used to deliver newspapers when I was a kid. And, I always did a little bit of everything, but as a young kid, I had saved money and bought a, like a Polaroid instant camera. And that's when I started taking pictures, and they sucked. They really did. They sucked. But one of the things that I did is, I did all this work for this guy once, and it was, trimming his hedges. And I shit you not, this was a big job for a kid, about 9 years old. And the old cheap bastard, he gave me $5 for trimming his hedges, and I worked all day. And, that $5 burned a hole in my pocket real quick. I bought a Kodak Brownie camera, and that's where it all kind of started with me, the infatuation with photography. So it was a pretty cool situation, but I'm going to put it to you, in the easiest terms that I can. I was taking photos, and of course they're film, and, the film wasn't really all that expensive, but it wasn't cheap either. And, any money that I could make, I was going out and buying film, for my little Brownie. And, of course, there was other cameras out there that, I just chomped at the bit to get and never really did. You couldn't afford it. Luckily, my grandfather had a camera that he, really just let me use, and I actually still have that camera to this day. But that's where things kind of, took a turn for me, where I really got interested in it and learned about composition and framing. And I'm just going to move ahead here pretty quick. I had some pretty significant events take place in 1987 regarding my photography, career, and they were pretty big jobs. They're things that I'll never forget. If you go to Getty Images and look up Sargent, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not going to discuss that. That's in the past, and I guess the way I have to look at it is that at this point, here's the thing with photography, and this is what I want everybody to understand. Today's day and age, this entire industry has changed. Cameras are so advanced, and some of them are so easy to use. Anybody can grab a camera, take pictures, and then consider themselves a professional. Okay? The ones that really stand out are ones that have developed certain looks with their photographs. I like to call them frames. I think photographs are, it's a nice compliment, but let's call them frames. It's easier for me that way. So I want people to know something. Sometimes I take photographs and I make it look easy. Like people have said, you have a God-given talent. And my response to that is, God gave me the will to learn how to do this. And maybe He gave me the talent, but I did the work. And I worked really hard at that. I worked hard back in 87. I worked really hard to give it up when I got married and had kids and had a family to support. I worked really hard to get back into it and re-educate myself with the digital media. Things had changed so much. I put the time in. I learned. So if I made it look easy, I guess that's on me. But those photographers out there that, see some of the success I'm currently having, and they want to hate on me because they think that, I've done something negative to, the photography industry, which, I'm not an impact player, not anymore. I just look at it like this. If you're not getting the success that you want as a photographer, if you're not pleased with the way that your imagery comes out, instead of hating on me, why don't you go put the work in and become better at it and stop making excuses? Because I'm not making excuses for my failures. I've learned from them. I also talked about in my blog post on my website about my motivations. So many things have happened that I could have just thrown in the towel and gave up. Most people, I think, probably would have. And when I think about it nowadays, I should have. But I can't do that because I'm not wired that way. I've always been a fighter. I don't see that ever changing. But if you ask me where my motivation comes from, I'll tell you. Growing up the way that I did, it sucked. It really sucked. And there was a lot of things that hurt. It was painful. And that pain continues. It's continued for years. You make every sacrifice in the world for the people that love you, or that you love. And when you see how they respond to everything that you gave up, and you're not asking for anything in return. maybe some respect. But you give up everything to give those you love things that, will enrich their lives and make their lives better. Or at least I think that's what you're supposed to do. I know there's a lot of people that don't. But when you get slapped around because of your beliefs, one day, and this is what I've learned over the course of the last 2 years, whether you're right or whether you're wrong, days come when you learn who was right and who was wrong. And then you find out who had the flawed belief system. I've learned that I was right. And I knew I was right. I know that sounds arrogant. But who cares? When you're right, you're right. So what I say my motivation has been failure. It's been pain. To become better at something. This is what I've chosen to release that outlet, try to create something positive with my photography. Sometimes it works really good for me, sometimes it doesn't, but I don't make excuses. I don't make excuses for when I fail. I learn from those failures and mistakes, and one thing I've learned, if you make a mistake and learn something from it, it now becomes a lesson. And that's how I move forward. Does that make sense to anybody? Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
I am not one to sit back and just let things go to shit. Not worded that way. I hope that all makes sense to people. Okay. It probably doesn't because I don't communicate these things very well. But this is kind of what I have, in my head all the time. And one of the things that I hate more than anything else is when I get a stupid ass question.
What kind of stupid ass question is that?
And when I say stupid ass question, I'm gonna, kind of lay it out like this. I had somebody ask me the other day, how can I justify the pricing in photography? And I said it multiple times.
What kind of stupid ass question is that?
I was literally floored that I got asked that. And it's like, do you know what these cameras cost? You know what the lenses cost? Do you know what the lighting costs? Do you know what it, actually takes to run a household? That right there is what's crazy to me. People would actually ask that. And, okay, they want to make a remark about how expensive I am. I'm expensive for a reason. Because for me to pick up a camera and give you the very best of what I got, I'm not doing it for free, people. I'm a nice guy. But I'm not a sucker either. We're going to take a little break here. And, wow. What a day. We're going to take a break.
My dreams are all dead and buried. Sometimes I wish the sun would just explode. When God comes and calls me to his kingdom, I'll take all your sons of bitches when I go. Let her blow.
Hey, man, let me drive that thing. Come on.
All right, so let's kind of close this show off with, a little bit of a take on politics. Because I told people that I told everybody here on the show earlier that I just don't feel like talking about it anymore. And here's the big reason why. I need to make it clear that I am not a diehard Donald Trump fan. But based on the candidates we had, Donald Trump was the best choice. And I'll tell you exactly where I kind of started to draw the line. And Scott, you'll probably like this. Lady Laura Moore. I was engaged with a Twitter discussion with her the other day. And we've had lots of discussions. But she wanted me to name one person pushing a social agenda, a socialist agenda. And I kind of couldn't believe that I just got asked that. And then she wanted to know which rights were violated and name an unpopular law. And I did. I told her, Obamacare, it's not popular. And she says that it is popular. So we got discussion about this voting. Felons being able to vote, illegal aliens being able to vote. It's not supposed to be happening in this country. And she feels that anybody over 18 should be allowed to vote. Well, I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but if they're a criminal, an illegal alien, they can't vote in this country. I mean, we're talking violent felons, okay? It just kind of blew my mind. I'll tell you what killed it for me. This will sound crazy. Obamacare was a socialistic program designed to basically provide health care for all Americans. It's supposed to be Affordable Care Act. Problem was it wasn't affordable. And everybody knew that. Okay? They really know it now. But that's why Donald Trump did away with the mandate. Obama lied about it. If you like your insurance, you can keep it. Well, we found out that was all a lie. And, Lady Laura Moore claims that that's not socialism since it's, post-capitalism. And it's like, are you kidding me? The increased military spending. That makes Donald Trump a socialist. The military is a socialist. She asked me how the military is not socialism. I was blown away by this, these questions. And this is coming from somebody that I kind of thought might be kind of smart. But it pissed me off. And this is where I started to just draw a line. And what happens is for me, on the photography side, when the politics and stupidity just overwhelm me, this is when I do some of my best photo work. Oddly enough. So I drew the line. Okay. And it was basically Lady Laura Moore put on a tweet to myself, Mr. Loeffler, and Donald Trump. Well, the law is wrong. And it was basically the laws regarding voting. She said, even if the law is wrong, even if you murder 1 million people, you should have the right to vote. Do you agree with that statement? Because I certainly don't. I found that amazing. That would even be said. Anyway, that's kind of where I drew the line and said, I have literally had enough. Talking about politics, on this program. I need to just go with photography and, events that are taking place with me and the photography, and that's going to be it. I literally just can't stand it anymore. The fact of the matter is, our president he's doing a damn good job. And it's making people melt down, the liberals. So, that's all I can say. Anyway, with any kind of luck, I'm going to disclose right here, right up front, August is going to be a bitch for me. I'm extremely busy. I have got several days that are booked up with photography. I have that big project that I have to do. And I have a couple of interviews to do with a couple of models. I've always said it, there's rules of Sarge. Exposure equals opportunity is basically rule number one. Okay? I've put myself out there. I've been contacted by a media outlet. They've asked me to do some work for them. Not my first rodeo. Here we go again. Okay? That's all I have for this week. When I'm wide awake, have a little bit more pep. We'll get a better show in here, and it'll be more on photography, and maybe I'll even have a couple of guests. I've been talking about that for a while. I get tired of hearing myself talk. Maybe that's why I didn't do a program for the last 3 weeks. Anyway, I am shutting the fuck up. You all take care. I'm out.